Spaces that's talking about college football and the NFL and stuff like that. I did it last night. It's a guy named Tiki. And it was fun. Like, sat in there and answered questions. We talked football. It was a good time.
My favorite things to do. Yeah, I was.
You were in there.
Yeah, I was in there last night. Spaces are fun, man. Just in and out. You got speakers. You got listeners. Everyone throws their opinion out there, and it's all different. I was in Miami.
I want to do it.
I was in. Well, you got Twitter, Dave.
You got Twitter.
I do. What do I do next? Like, when I open Twitter.
We'll do this together.
Yeah, look,
hold my hand. Hold my hand. Walk me through that.
Yeah. I just love that you're really 80 years old.
Well, I want to learn.
I just can't wait for you to tell me that you're actually a time traveler.
Look, get out of my Twitter space.
I will. Is Texas A&M a true contender this season? Bud Elliott at 247 Sports is going to join us to talk some college football. And Julio Jones teams up with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm Jake Crane, and welcome to Crane & Company. A&M fan base and followers to listen up and just vibe with me here. I know you guys are growing more impatient by the day, all right? I know you haven't won the big one since World War II, and I know you see Georgia finally getting theirs, and like J.G. Wentworth, you want your natty and you want it now. But there is one more year of suffering before you have the best opportunity since your granddaddy's grandpappy. Now, this year will be the biggest test that the A&M fan base has had yet. After garnering that incredible recruiting class last year, and they've stacked a bunch of them on each other, and taken down Nick Saban with a backup quarterback last year. Now, while this team is going to be good, with what you have coming back in 2023, you'll be more stout than Aaron Donald in an Irish pub. You'll basically return everyone up front on both sides of the ball, and I think you're going to have a proven quarterback that's going to be returning. Now, the Aggies have unflinching support from a huge population of people. But those same people cannot pollute what could be the golden year in 2023 because of the negative energy caused by another 9 or 8 win season this year. And I get Jimbo's in year 5, okay? I understand. But he is building a program, unlike Kevin Sumlin, who was just building an offense and basically had a nightclub in his office like one of the Butabi brothers off Night at the Roxbury. Now, people will compare their records, but to me, that's a mirage, considering the SEC continues to get better and deeper every year. Now, Jimbo realizes that to bridge the gap between Alabama and now Georgia, you have to do it up front. And they're doing just that. And this is the same guy that got Christian Ponder and Kellen Mond drafted. So the questions about his ability to develop quarterbacks need to go ahead and die at the door. He's also living in the same division as the greatest football coach in college we've seen ever, and is one of the few coaches who have bested him. Now, I'm not saying that Jimbo's going to be let go if this season doesn't end up with a big ring, but negative energy by a fan base of this size can cause way more harm in coaches' offices and the locker room than one may think. And knee-jerk reactions and paralysis by analysis is going to do nothing but make the mountain harder to climb in 2023. The hardest year to wait is always the year before the ceiling finally gets broken through. And 2023 has the makings to be one Aggie fans will never forget. So be patient. Your time is coming. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring in David Cohn and Pablo Escobar over here. There will be A&M fans that say, I'm sick of hearing be patient. I'm sick of it. I want it. And I get that. I understand that. Two things can be true at once. We lose that nowadays way more than we should. Number one, if you jump off the Jimbo train after this year, who you going to get?
Yeah.
Who you going to get? And number two, if you look at A&M's trajectory, at the positions that it matters the most, okay, up front, A&M is doing as well as anybody in recruiting, and that's the quickest way to do it. You have seen, and we have seen this multiple times, teams that play Alabama and Georgia now, maybe they'll come out hot, maybe it'll be a game for a little bit, then eventually gravity takes over up front. Jimbo understands that. And A&M fans will dismiss this and say, oh, it's saying wait another year and we're always waiting another year. Well, you know what? You haven't won one since 1939, so what's one more year to wait?
There you go. That was my point exactly. I mean, you're talking about there are going to be Texas A&M fans who lose patience after this season, but why? I don't understand. I mean, to me, Jimbo Fisher has accomplished more in his football career than Texas A&M has, at least in my lifetime. I mean, he's won a national championship. But I do respect how passionate Texas A&M fans are. It is something to behold. And I respect the fact that this fan base says we expect to be the best every single season. I like that. You know, I really do. So on your point on Texas A&M, how many games do you think they'll win this year?
I think the ceiling is 10. I don't see.
Which is a good season.
It's a great season. It's a great season. But it feels 9-3-ish to me. 8-4 again.
8-4 is different. 8-4 is different because I think Max Johnson's a great quarterback.
I think he is too. I think he is a year away from being an outstanding quarterback, having a year in that system, because I do think he's going to be the guy, and he's going to be surrounded by dogs. They're going to be dogs up front, out wide, in the backfield. The defense is going to be solid and deep, and DJ Durkin's over there now, a guy I have a lot of respect for. And again, I know it absolutely grinds A&M fans' gears to hear, all right, well, we're just going to do it next year, and well, we're paying them all this money, and it's year 5. I don't think that people really understand the program that Jimbo inherited. Not that there weren't some good players on the roster, but the culture at A&M, the way it was then, and the culture at A&M, the way it is now, is totally different and way more productive. And again, remember what Georgia fans were saying. Oh, Kirby can't beat Saban. Yep. Kirby, they can't get over the Alabama hump. They're never going to beat him. Kirby can't do it. And then he goes and wins the Natty, and they're going to build a statue of him, and they should. All it takes is that 1 year. And in my opinion, not saying A&M couldn't fool everybody this year and go on some crazy run. We've seen crazier things. But I think it's way more likely that 2023, all right, year 6 under Jimbo, I think that's the year. Remember, people at Clemson wanted to fire Dabo. And then all of a sudden, boom, the glow up happened. I can feel the booster club, right? I can just feel it.
I love that you brought up Georgia, though, because I think Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M can replicate what Kirby Smart has done at Georgia. And
look at what they're doing in recruiting.
And Kirby Smart inherited a much better situation from Mark Richt at Georgia. And it still took him how many seasons? More than 5. Right?
Yeah.
So it can be done, and Jimbo Fisher has won at Florida State, and the main reason he left was because they didn't have the resources.
Well, and
they wouldn't give him the resources he wanted.
That's exactly right. And now he's got more resources.
He has whatever he wants.
He's Willy Wonka. The whole factory's his. But when you look again, Blaine, all right, and you look at what Saban's done to Alabama in the West and the SEC in general, it's obviously tough. But A&M, from a personnel standpoint, from a facility standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, you know, Jimbo doesn't get enough credit, I think, as a play caller because his offense isn't this Globetrotters razzle-dazzle offense. You want to know why? Because he knows you can't trick your way to a national championship. If it was that easy, then a team that went as fast as anybody in the world would win it every single year. That's why I think until Tennessee slows it down, which you've seen Mike Leach have to slow it down when he got in the SEC, you've seen Lane Kiffin have to slow it down in the SEC, I'd be willing to bet my bottom dollar, little orphan Annie, that Tennessee, after this year, starts going the speed limit a little bit more because Jimbo realizes you have to be able to control the clock, which isn't just slowing it down. Controlling the clock is a 2-minute drill as well. It's fast and slow. It's a common misconception. But when you look at A&M with that type of loyalty in that fan base, and they've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and they've been passing down this waiting from great-grandfather to grandfather to father to son, and now they feel like they're almost there. It's 1 more year. Just don't panic. But I feel like they're going to panic.
I just feel like every time we talk about Texas A&M or somewhat Texas, 1 more year. It's 1 more year.
No, Texas is back every year.
Yeah, true. But it's the next year. It's this year. NIL was huge for A&M.
Of course.
Giant for A&M. Texas has money. There's no regard that they don't have money. But I have to see it on the field. Texas A&M, even going back to last year's team, that defense was so good.
In my opinion,
people always say Zach Calzada won that Alabama game. That defense won that game.
Defense won the Auburn game, too.
Exactly. And you're seeing the blueprint and how it's getting built. It's out now. It's been out for a couple years. Yeah. I mean, Kirby got it from Saban. A&M, you have to build it inside out. If you can run the ball and stop the run, you have a chance to win every game.
Exactly right.
Every game. Defense wins championships, right? I don't care what offense realistic. I know a couple of Bama players got hurt, but that defense from Georgia, that's where you want to go to. You can have a mediocre offense and a defense that good and win a championship.
And this is what I say about Texas, and I was saying this last night. Everybody at Texas I talked to, like, Sark is a wizard on offense, and this, that. Yes, offense is really not the problem at Texas. It's stopping someone. That's where they've struggled because if you are going to make the run and just to make the playoff in a 12-game regular season, I don't care what conference you play in, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, there are nights where the offense is not clicking. And in football, especially even if you have a high-powered offense, those 2 games where maybe you only scored 24 or you scored 27 and you need the defense and special team to bail you out. You got to have a complete team to be able to escape those. Great example, 2019 LSU with Joe Burrow and them go to Auburn. Unbelievable offense, one of the best offenses we ever seen. They struggled moving the ball the whole game, and the defense bailed them out and won it. You've seen this with Alabama a ton. There's been times where the offense did not show up at all, but the defense was able to keep them in it and was able to solidify it at the end when they finally did go score. That is the blueprint. That's how it works. You can win some games by tricking people, but you can't win national championships by tricking people. Another guy that came in the SEC and went fast early, and then all of a sudden the book got out on it, Gus Malzahn. He wasn't going fast at all by the time he left Auburn. You want to know why? Because if the defense is out there for 65 plays a half, you're going to get lit up in the second half. That's how football works. So it may not be the sexiest offense all the time. It may not razzle-dazzle them and be some, crazy out-of-the-box type thinking. But at the end of the day, it's not about getting to the playoff. It's about getting to the playoff and winning a national championship. Because if you ain't first, you're last.
And that's the beauty of football. I mean, when you're as efficient as possible in all 3 phases of the game, you give yourself a chance to win more ball games, especially on the road, especially in hostile environments, especially in close games. And you used to make a point last season, which I loved about Kirby Smart at Georgia, which is, Georgia fans, I get it. You had Alabama on the ropes. When Tua came in and threw that touchdown pass to Devontae Smith and you lost the championship, you had Alabama on the ropes a couple other times. You were this close, but be careful because you just may run Kirby Smart off. Because this is the guy who's going to win you national championship.
And he did.
He made that point. And then he won national championship. I think the same thing kind of applies to Texas A&M, with Jimbo Fisher is like, yes, they expect more than an 8-4 season. Like 8-4 isn't good enough at this point with the recruiting classes that he's been able to stack on top of each other. And I say about Jimbo Fisher what I say about Jim Harbaugh a lot of times, which is, or Jim Harbaugh before Cade McNamara had such an efficient season last year, which was he's the quarterback guru. He needs to get a great quarterback in there and develop them and that be a strength of the offense, not just getting by with the Kellen Monds of the world. Exactly. And so it's like, be careful because you don't want to run Jimbo Fisher off to another big-time opportunity that comes along after he does go 11-1 or 12-0.
Yeah, I agree. And I think sometimes when you have a guy like Johnny Manziel, okay, it kind of spoils you and gives you a false sense. Johnny Manziel win the national championship. He didn't even sniff it. Like, yeah, he was great. He won the Heisman. A&M don't want the Heisman.
Yeah.
They want to win the national championship. Hell, they want to win the West. It's tough to get there if you don't win the West. We've seen it before, especially if your name's not Alabama, because you don't know if they're going to put you in. And I think they should have put him in a couple years ago during the shortened season over Notre Dame. But I would much rather have a guy that wins me. I'd much rather have a Stetson Bennett with a team around him that wins me a national championship than Johnny Manziel running around there with a playground offense, making crazy plays to Mike Evans and not even sniffing it.
Well, you're Texas A&M. You should be happy about this because you're in the conversation.
For sure.
You're in the conversation with guys who have won it. You're somewhat sitting at the table because at the end of the day, if you recruit and you recruit well on classes, you will be able to go toe-to-toe with people for 4 quarters. You have to have the bodies in there, getting the bodies and the athleticism. And the guys who usually go to Bama, usually go to Georgia, they're starting to like A&M. It's a different flavor. The mountaintop's there. You can see it. You just have to keep your skis on and trust the people that are with you to take you there.
Yep. What's the Booster Club saying, Blaine?
Okay, we knew we were going to get this question. It's Aggie opinions. All right, who do we think starts? All right, Haynes King, Max Johnson.
I think we're almost in consensus on this, Blaine. I can't remember what you think, but Cone, you've been huge on Max Johnson, and I'm with you, and I'm with you for a couple reasons. I think Max is going to be the guy, and hearing some fans talk about Max Johnson, I asked a guy last night, he was like, well, I just don't believe in Max Johnson. I was like, why? What part of his game do you not believe in? He's like, well, I just don't believe in him. I'm like, okay, well, we're not talking about the snuffleupagus. All right, when you look at Max Johnson's film, the situation he was in at LSU was toxic. LSU fans will tell you that. All of them will tell you that. You had an offensive line that couldn't block somebody on Facebook, and Max Johnson stood in there and took the hits. You had Ed Orgeron telling him, don't throw to the tight ends because we're wide receiver you, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen and kind of gives you a scope on how it was going down with the Ed Orgeron there at the end. Max Johnson was in a bad spot, but Max Johnson is mobile. Max Johnson has good instincts. Max Johnson can throw the fastball. He can throw the changeup, and he has good football IQ. He's an NFL quarterback's son. But if you're A&M, guess what? You don't need him to be Superman. You don't need him to be Captain Marvel. You need him to be good enough to put you in advantageous situations. You need him to be smart enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to force it because Alabama's running something that kind of surprised me. I'm going to check it down. We'll get in the 2nd and 4. You need the guy to be able to slide the protection the right way. And you know what? When it comes down to throwing that whole shot against cover 2 or throwing that post and putting it right on the money, you need a guy that can do that. But Max can. Max can also tuck and run. Max can also extend the play from in the pocket and outside the pocket. And I know Jimbo doesn't love lefties, but it is what it is. Max Johnson can be good enough. Is he going to win the Heisman? I don't think so. Is he going to be on the cover of NCAA football 2023? I don't think so. But he can be the guy that is the conductor of the train, the pilot of the plane, and the man that can take you to the promised land. I think he has that ability. I just don't think Haynes King throws it good enough.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I like Max Johnson just because I've seen it, right? And what you were talking about with the situation at LSU, after we were at SEC Media Days, I don't think people realize just how toxic that situation was. And the kid was still out there making throws. He can make all the throws, but he's poised. That's the thing you're talking about. He's the son of an NFL Super Bowl champion. So I think that he can get the job done. And if Haynes King beats him out, then I at least know that Haynes is beating out a good quarterback. I mean, the kid's not Joe Burrow. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. So if Haynes King beats him out, then at least I have faith that, okay, wow, this Texas A&M can move forward with this other kid who Billy Lucci thinks is going to start, actually, Haynes King, because I do know at least Max Johnson provides a baseline level, especially under the tutelage of Jimbo Fisher, to be really good.
And if Haynes King does start, and look, again, I know Haynes got hurt last year. Sometimes things are out of your control. But if Haynes does start, I would not be surprised if for some reason it doesn't go good early, if you see Max Johnson come in and not give that job up. I really, it could go either way.
You get in that dangerous situation where you get that two quarterback carousel, and then I don't like that. Some people say you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. I think Jimbo needs to make a decision. It might not be going great early, but stick with a guy. And I trust Jimbo as a QB guy.
Oh, heck yeah.
To know who the right guy is. I mean, it's great to have depth at the quarterback position for sure, but make sure when you pick a guy and you let him make a couple mistakes and not just yank him out.
Yeah, for sure. What else from the Boost Club before we get Bud Elliott?
Okay, Brendan Moore says, Jake is spot on. I understand the criticism, but you can't fire someone who's headed in the right direction with the program and getting #1 recruiting class.
Yeah, who you going to replace him with? Who's going to want that? Mm-hmm. Who's going to want that job?
Yeah.
Like, not saying it's a horrible job, but right now, if you look at the lay of the land, well, Saban's at Bama, this and the other. Maybe I need to wait it out a little bit. Obviously, he built it up to this point. Who you gonna replace him with? That's where I'm at. What else, Blaine?
All right, how do we expect A&M's defense to be this year compared to last year?
I think they have some young guys up front, that are pretty special. I know they lost a little bit, but I'm big on DJ Durkin, man. I think DJ, what they did at Ole Miss with that roster, with the lack of depth, and I know it was. They were one of the worst defenses in the country, early when he got there. But you could see that while they didn't have the talent, they were playing unbelievably hard. It wasn't like they were blowing assignments left and right. They just didn't have the Jims and Joes to do it, and that's not on him when he went in there. I think DJ, now that he has a battalion that can actually go do it, I think he's a guy that does a really good job of balancing risk versus reward. We talk about, all right, well, if I don't have the players, I'm going to have to blitz too much. And again, you can rob Peter to pay Paul. We look at Michigan State, who led the Big Ten in sacks, but was the worst on third down. Yeah. You want to know how that happens? Because you're blitzing all the time. That's just, it is what it is. One more, Blaine.
Okay, why do you think Bill O'Brien's going to be the next Alabama head coach?
I don't think Mario's leaving Miami, number one. Then number two, may have a little bit of inside information, but I'm not going to let out who told me that, obviously, and people can say whatever they want. I think Bill O'Brien fits what Nick Saban wants. I think Bill O'Brien is a disciplinarian. I think Bill O'Brien is a structure guy. And everybody says, oh, well, he's not going to be there when Saban retires. Just because somebody leaves, because he's not going to go be a head coach in the NFL, he'll probably go be an OC in the NFL. Just because somebody leaves doesn't mean they can't come back. Like I don't understand people that say they're like, oh, well, he left Alabama as the OC. Okay.
Didn't Sark?
Yeah. Well, everybody says Lane Kiffin's. They are not hiring Lane Kiffin.
No.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys right now. I can promise you that. But Bill O'Brien fits more of the mold that Saban wants. And look, nobody is going to recreate what Nick Saban did, even at Alabama, with a roster that's handed over to him. It's just impossible. It's like somebody going out there and shooting as good as Steph Curry. You may shoot really good, but you're not going to shoot that good. And Alabama fans will be like, oh, no, Bill O'Brien, this is a disaster. Did you see what he did at Penn State when they had like 12 scholarships? after all that went down. He
Yeah.
inherited an absolute disaster of a situation. So I think Bill O'Brien would be a good hire for Alabama, and Alabama fans will get upset about it because it's not the coolest, sexiest name out there. Well, guess what? Nick Saban's not the sexiest. He doesn't do the things the sexiest way of doing it. But you want to talk about a sexy conversation? This one we had with Bud Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
If you love football, you're going to think it's pretty sexy. Let's get Bud Elliott, 247 Sports, Cover 3 Podcast, CBS Sports. Probably belongs to 9 other things. Nolecast as well. Check it out. This is some good stuff. All right, what's up, everybody? Very excited to welcome in from the Cover 3 podcast guy I really love to keep up with, Mr. Bud Elliott. Bud, as usual, my friend, it's good to see you. Tend to run into you the closer we get to football season. I appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, man. Enjoyed being here at SC Media Days and seeing you guys. And
Definitely, man. Had some good conversation last night. Talked a little ball. And you know where I want to start, kind of from the outside looking in. Obviously, we're at SEC Media Days, but you know we're seeing a seismic shift throughout all of college sports, really, not just college football. You look at NIL, the transfer portal. NIL meeting the transfer portal, geography not mattering anymore, which to me it didn't when they put Auburn and Alabama in the West and Missouri in the East. I don't think you have to be Christopher Columbus to figure out that doesn't make sense navigationally. So when you look at all the changes, and me and you are around the same age, we grew up, the local feel of college sports to me is what separates it from the professional sports. You know, the hometowns are in Detroit and Philly and Atlanta. While there's some schools there, it's Knoxville, it's Athens, it's Auburn, it's Tuscaloosa. Just your overall view of where we're going with college athletics in general and obviously college football.
so I think it all kind of follows a pattern of the TV money outpacing your ticket revenue, right? As TV money and broadcast and times your broadcast windows, as those become more important relative to what's best for the fan, we see the changes in the sport following, right? Mm-hmm. Now that's not necessarily NIL. NIL is a little different beast. They kind of got slapped by the courts because they weren't active for about 30 years. With that, but I think the TV money is behind all of these changes that we're seeing in college sports, and it's really everybody for themselves. Look at UCLA breaking away from the California state system and leaving Cal behind, right, to go with their buddy USC. Why does the Big Ten want them? Well, Cole Kulick of SEC Network said they go from 10 cents per cable box in the Los Angeles market to $1.50 per cable box per month. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You have to go and try and get those guys. So I think it's sad somewhat for some of the fans, because it does eliminate some of those traditional local rivalries, but it's easy to trace. The TV money is so much bigger now than your gate revenue. You could play in front of nobody in the stands, and they would still be profitable.
Yeah, and it's funny, we keep saying the TV rights are the yellow brick road of this. If you follow it, you'll find who's behind the curtain. And then obviously, you have different entities, ESPN and Fox coming together to fight the Klingons for interstellar domination. And you have other people outside, Amazon, Disney Plus. So I'm very interested to see kind of where this goes, because it could go with the way streaming is, with the way cable's getting cut in some places, there's no telling. And I actually wonder in my mind, and maybe I'm giving somebody $1 million idea or $1 billion idea, when we're going to start just having seats they sell where people with VR goggles sit in them and you can watch it from your home from that stand. So that is copyrighted by Crane & Company. No lawyer excluded, battery sold separately. But kind of focusing in, narrowing in on the Southeastern Conference, obviously Alabama and Georgia are going to dominate the headlines, and they should. I have Alabama playing Ohio State win the national championship this year. When you look at that second tier of teams, obviously A&M's recruited at a really high level. Tennessee with Josh Heupel there, the only person going faster is Elon Musk and SpaceX. Arkansas and Sam Pittman, which is the best fit in college football from a head coach and university, in my opinion. When you look at that second tier, is there a team that you have that may not win it, but when you're looking at to take a big step this year, maybe with a year 2 coach, year 3 coach, something like that?
Sure, I think you named a lot of good ones there. I played Arkansas for the national championship not Arkansas, Texas A&M for the national title as a value play, right? Mm-hmm. I look at that roster, I see there's a whole lot of talent on it. But since Jimbo joined the SEC, they've been outside the top 100 on average in passing explosiveness every year. And that's not going to get it done. But I think just from the standpoint of they have the fewest things to fix. Yeah. We know they're going to be very good defensively. They're going to have a strong offensive line. Can they push the ball down the field? Can they create some explosive plays? If they can, they might be in it. But really, I think any SEC pick other than Bama, Georgia is almost asking, so if Bryce Young doesn't stay healthy, who do you like, right? Because I think they are basically rubber stamping through to Atlanta as long as Bryce plays 12 games.
No, I'm with you 100%. And then A&M to me has kind of bridged the gap the most up front. And that's the only way you're going to catch them. We can talk about receivers and DBs and all that stuff. It's quarterback and it's up front. Mm-hmm. I like A&M, and I know you took it as a value play, obviously, like you said. I think A&M's going to have a shot. Not this year, but next year to actually go win, to have a chance to win the national championship. Max Johnson's a guy that obviously you're high on as well, Coach.
Yeah, no, I am. Look, you live in the great state of Florida, and it's rare that we see a time when Florida and Florida State and Miami are all kind of down. Now, Miami, they got their guy, right? Mario Cristobal. I think think the Billy Napier hire is really cool at Florida. Florida State, we're still waiting to see. Over the next 3 to 5 seasons, how do you think the state of Florida will play out as it relates to those 3 programs?
I think if you look at where we are on the recruiting trail right now, you have to think it's Miami, right? So Billy Napier came in there. He has some energy. Kids know who Mario Cristobal is more often than they do Billy Napier. And Miami with the NIL program is way ahead of everybody else, and they're totally playing for keeps. I mean, I don't know if this is live today or when we're going to release this, but Miami could end up with the top 2 offensive tackles in the nation by the time people watch this. Like, they are really laughing at people in recruiting right now. So I think you kind of got to look at Miami with the talent acquisition that Mario already showed at Oregon, pre-NIL, and then now with NIL. It's really something to see.
Well, let's stay in the ACC. You're going to ACC Media Days, right? Clemson last year had a down year, but still won 10 games. They replaced both coordinators. Wake's going to have another good season, I think, and I'm big on NC State this year. How do you think the ACC will play out this season?
So I was very heavy on NC State last year. I saw Devin Leary in person at the Elite 11 a couple years back. I knew he could play. NC State had a lot of guys coming back. I like him even more this year. I don't think it's a bad idea to think that they should be the favorite in the Atlantic or perhaps even for the conference. But up front, Clemson is a different beast defensively than anybody else has in that league. And you kind of have to think between Cade Klubnik or DJ, one of those guys is very likely to be at least a decent quarterback. And I think if Clemson gets decent quarterback play, and DJ, the Clemson media today reporting he showed up in great shape, he does look like he's lost some weight and maybe even more dedicated to the game than he was last year. If Clemson gets decent quarterback play, Clemson's going to win the league.
For sure. I agree 100%. I mean, and again, Dave Doran has done one of the sneakiest coaching jobs that we've seen. Like I said, if he keeps doing this, he's 3 years away from sainthood. And again, it's very interesting to kind of see them and watch them. I'm with you on Miami. Adding the biggest piece for Miami to me was not just Mario. It's getting that on-campus stadium because the facilities at Miami and having to go, certain places to watch the game, they're a monster in waiting. We've seen it. They just need to get a little bit to get cooking.
I got a question about Notre Dame. You think it was the right move for Notre Dame not to join a conference?
So, yeah, I don't think that they really feel any external pressure to join a conference as long as the SEC and Notre Dame continue to collude to allow Notre Dame a reasonable path to the playoff. I think for the Irish, when you look at their endowment and you look at their expenditures, it's really not a question of do they need the money. They really don't. I mean, certainly they need some money, but they'll get that as an independent from NBC or whomever they end up signing with when their current deal is up. They really care more about access to the playoff, if you look at their AD's comments. And the SEC, I think, probably understands it is not going to get Notre Dame. Like, I don't think you're going to see the Irish fly into Starkville to play a volleyball game, right? So it's basically the Big Ten or nothing, I would assume, for Notre Dame. And if you're the SEC, you have all the incentive in the world to say, hey, we'll make it really easy for you to get to the playoff. We're going to remove that incentive for you to join the Big Ten. They seem to value a lot of stuff more than money, and so I don't begrudge them that.
Well, I do want to ask this because this is a point I'm trying in my head to square. We're moving toward mega conferences, as you could say. I mean, the SEC talking about 16 teams. I got a feeling we may get 4 Power 4 conferences of 16 teams each. Well, when you add teams in a conference, you have to add conference games. So if I'm adding conference games and Texas and Oklahoma are going to the US or to the SEC, USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten, why the hell would I ever schedule Notre Dame? I'd never schedule.
Ticket sales and visibility, I would say. Like your alumni, your boosters, your folks who plop down for those season tickets, they're always going to want to go to that game.
True,
and
but
Irish fans travel to your stadium as well.
They do, and they travel really well. I think that's one of the biggest things that they bring. But still, if I'm an SEC school or I'm a Big Ten school, I mean, I'm not worried about ticket sales. I mean, the way really that it's gone and the way that it is going, especially with the way TV rights are going. Yeah. You were talking about the TV rights outweighing the ticket revenue. I'm just wondering. I always had 2 rules. I always told myself if I was ever going to be a head coach. Number 1, I'm never playing a triple option team out of non-conference, and I will have 1 big non-conference game as long as the conferences don't get huge and together, because again, adding a Texas and Oklahoma to me, I think that's going to take away maybe that Notre Dame, having a chance to play an SEC team, Big Ten team, even ACC team. So I'm very interested to see kind of how they square that, because in one vein, you feel like the SEC, and I'm with you, I think the SEC wants to play Notre Dame in the national championship because we've seen that movie before.
Sure.
It's like Space Jam, except the second time it wasn't as bad. But when I look at kind of college football going forward, I'm just interested to see if the dime ever turns on Notre Dame, because that's something I'm kind of excited to see, to be honest with you.
I think it could. I mean, in the very long term, if we do go to like a 2 conference model,
you got to, right, bud? You got
right.
to.
But I think in a 3 scenario, it's very sustainable. You know, they could do. What happens if the Big 12 raids the Pac-12 and they were to take like the Arizona schools, Colorado, and Utah? Does Oregon really want to stay in the Pac-12, or do they want to go independent? So maybe you have a couple, teams that do go independent. There's a lot of variables out there. I think Notre Dame is the one that is the least desperate, and so they're going to make the decisions that are, probably more forward-looking.
Yeah, they're the prettiest girl at the dance. That's for sure when it comes to it.
All right, this a little Heisman Trophy odds here.
Okay.
What would be a good value pick? You think you got CJ at plus 200, Bryce Young at plus 350, and Caleb Williams plus 800. No, you got the Bijan. Quinn Ewers is on here and haven't thrown a pass in college. Plus 2,800. So what would be a good value pick? Do you think for the Heisman?
I think it probably is Ewers.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't agree with Texas being the favorite in the Big 12. I think that's
100%.
I think it's premature. But if you map it out, they could miss a bowl. They could also win the Big 12. I think their variance is that wide because they have a lot of young pups on the offensive line and defensively that if they happen to grow up a little early, well, Texas is right there. If they don't, then we may be talking about Steve Sarkisian hot seat next year, which we won't because they're getting Arch Manning, and that's kind of your ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. But Quinn Ewers is really, really talented. And with the Heisman odds, when you read off 250, 300, as someone who does bet a little bit, I don't want to put my money down for 6 months to get a 3x return on something like that, which is very speculative. I want something that's a multiplier. So I know there were some Ewers 60-1 out there earlier this year. Had a little piece of that. What's Ewers now, like 20 or something?
He is
15?
28.
See, I don't think that's terrible. If I had to pick one, I'm not a real big bet the Heisman guy now. In the era of super teams, it limits the different guys who can win it somewhat.
What's Bijan at on that?
Bijan is plus 2,000. Hey, Will Anderson Jr. plus 3,300.
I would say a running back rule. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would not bet a running back on a team that I don't think is going to play for the national title.
Yeah.
Like running backs win when quarterbacks falter, and I think this is definitely a quarterback year. I mean, with CJ and Bryce, because otherwise you need to be. Think about the running backs that have won recently. It's all Bama guys. I think if I'm recalling this right. And we did not have great quarterbacks that year, or somebody got hurt.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Texas, too, that Alabama game, you're just trying to get through without Quinn getting hurt.
Sure.
Because, again, you remember we always talk about the Florida State, DeAndre Francois, and then Bama just pick him up, treat him like Stretch Armstrong.
They tend to do that. They tend to do that. You're talking about the Big 12. The three of us have 3 different projected winners for that conference. So why don't you tell us who you like in that conference first?
Yeah, so I have TCU. Not to win, but for something I bet. Caesars had 28-1, and so I popped that there. Again, if Oklahoma plays to its talent level, I think they are going to win the Big 12. So that's my pick. But what happens if they don't? You got to look down ballot. I mean, everybody loves Kansas State. I do too. Just the odds. I'll take a little 28-1 on TCU.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting, especially with the coaching movement. Here with Bud Elliott, Cover 3 podcast. Bud, as we kind of wind down, when I'm looking at the new coaches that we've seen, not only throughout college football, it's going to be really interesting to see how Dan does at Oregon. You look at Brent going to Oklahoma, and I tend to think, especially now that Oregon, they went through the Chip Kelly process and the Mario Cristobal process, I'm starting to see a little bit of shift in how some of these teams are approaching their identity.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to offense and try and outscore everybody. They've realized that can work until you get to the playoff, whether it's Lincoln and Oklahoma. We've seen many examples of it. Do you think we're starting to see somewhat of a shift in some of these teams' mindset where the dime is flipping more back to being a little bit more balanced offensively and defensively? And to be honest with you, maybe having a defensive identity as a team. Because again, if you look, the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, so I think one of the major shifts we've seen, and Kirby Smart talked about this in some coaching clinic tapes I was watching. Some of these defenses out there are just being very humble, and they're playing a lot more drop 8. And it does take a certain amount of humility to do that, to realize, hey, I can't play this or that coverage against a lot of this RPO stuff. I'm just going to drop 8. I call it red zone roulette, right? No explosive plays against me. When you get in the red zone, let's flip some coins. You'll hit some field goals. If you have to kick more field goals than you want to, I'll win. If you don't, I'll lose. I don't really have the guys. I think Arkansas is actually a great example of this.
I agree 100%.
Right? Like, they don't have the dudes to play a lot of man coverage on the back end, and they don't. Right? They just drop everybody. Look at the Matt Corral game against them from was the COVID year, right? When he threw 6 picks. It was a great example. It's like, will you be super patient? Can you get these college kids to execute over and over again, small chunks? Sometimes you got to be able to run them out of that, though.
Yeah.
I think that's where it probably comes from. I don't think anybody's going to be defensive focus, but I think they might be more balanced on offense in response to just the overemphasis of limiting explosive plays defensively.
But without a doubt, I mean, sometimes in the bar you got to realize the 9's not available. You got to go with the 6, man. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we got to be realized. That's what drop 8 is. It's realizing sometimes I got to go with the 6. We may not get there. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. But again, tell everybody where they can find your stuff, man. It's always fantastic to talk to you.
Yeah, guys, check me out on Twitter at BudElliott3 and Cover 3 Podcast every day.
Definitely, man. Well, I appreciate you, brother.
Man, Bud Elliott, always a good time. Excited to get him back on. I mean, we've had him and Danny Cannell from basically the same show. Yep. We just need to go and just get everybody over there. Our buddy Barrett Salee is going to be coming on soon as well. But if you want to watch the second half of the show, remember, we keep the audio here as well. Head over to dailywire.com and become a member, or listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe and leave a 5-star review and share it with your friends. We're about to come back, and Cone's going to tell somebody to do something on his lawn, and I, for one, am super duper excited. All right, every Wednesday, our old curmudgeon friend, who's really an 80-year-old trapped in a 34-year-old's body, climbs up to the top of the mountain and asks the Oracle if he can go to war during the Carnea. Oh, wait, sorry, no, different segment. Cone, is somebody going to get on your lawn or stay off your lawn?
Today, I am telling Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh to stay on my lawn.
Stay on it.
Look, I'm tough on Coach Harbaugh, it's no secret, because if I played for him, I know he'd be tough on me. But we are part of a very small brotherhood, that of Michigan quarterbacks. And I want Coach Harbaugh to have more success than any coach in Michigan history. But when he brought in a former women's basketball player to help coach QBs, I called him out because I didn't think it made the team better. And when he made Colin Kaepernick an honorary captain during our spring game, I didn't respect it. But this past week, Jim Harbaugh attended a pro-life rally, something that really shouldn't be newsworthy, let alone controversial, and yet he received backlash for it. One fan wrote, "Finding out Jim Harbaugh is pro-life shattered my whole heart." Man, think about how the babies must feel. But instead of Coach Harbaugh backing down, he doubled down, stating, "I tell my boys, girls, players, and staff members, if they have an unplanned pregnancy but can't take care of the baby, go through with it anyway. Sarah and I will take that baby." That's a man. That's a community leader. That's a guy I want in my village because he doesn't shy away from responsibility. Say what you will about Coach Harbaugh's eccentricity, and I say plenty, the man stays true to himself, and that is admirable. Now, Michigan fans will ultimately judge Coach Harbaugh by how much success he has on the football field, and that's the nature of being a football coach. But some actions are bigger than football, they're bigger than politics, and they deserve to be highlighted. So, Coach Harbaugh, at least for today, keep your khakis and cleats on my lawn.
That's good, dude. You said khakis and cleats? He does walk around in khakis. But, like, the thing is, regardless of what, belief you have in whatever, you can't say Jim Harbaugh's scared. He's doesn't play favorites. If he believes something, whether it's on this side or whether it's on that side, like he's being, like you said, true to himself. And I mean, you got to applaud him for it, right? I mean, that's the whole point, being true to yourself.
I don't know. It's just funny. I mean, 10 years ago, or when I was playing at Michigan, a head coach attending a pro-life rally or something wouldn't have even been newsworthy. Now, not only is it newsworthy, but you have people trying to bury him. And I mean, this is like, this is what social media is kind of for, right? So people can just anonymously, say negative things about him on that. But I don't know. I felt, when I saw it, I initially thought, man, there's going to be a new head coach in Ann Arbor tomorrow.
When I saw that.
Then he doubled down, and I mean, kudos to him. Look, I want to talk about who Coach Harbaugh is going to start at quarterback this year. That's what I'm more interested in. I want to talk about, can they be more creative on the offensive end if they match up against Georgia in the playoffs again? Are we going to beat our rival? Are we going to beat Michigan State? That's what I really want to talk about. But I felt the need to call this out because, he does stand by his convictions.
No, he does. I mean, look, like you said, the man stays true to himself, but it's time to stay true to ourselves. It's time for a little 5 humongously big questions.
5 big questions? Blaine, you ready too?
Yeah, born ready. I'm just.
Are you perusing the chat?
I'm in a war right now.
What was it?
Well, hold on.
You're in a war.
You're in a war.
I'm in a war right
okay,
now. Be honest.
This takes precedent.
To be honest, when you're in the chat, right? There's 3 people that are the kings.
Yes.
There's 3 people sitting on the set. And you have to bend the knee. You bend the knee.
Okay, wait. Is this one of your power
You
trips?
bend the knee. You bend the knee.
God, you're the Maria.
What have you done?
You're the Maria.
No.
What have
I didn't
you-
start this. The chat today is on something else. I don't know what it is, but I mean, we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Is this
As
YouTube?
my dad would like to say, we're going to have a little, sit at the table, have a little come to Jesus meeting.
Is this YouTube or is this Daily Wire?
No, this is YouTube, Daily Wire chats. Great.
Okay.
But one, you don't want a stash battle. I promise you that.
I knew it was going to come down to
Yeah,
that.
I promise you that. And 2, just know who controls.
Who wants to stash battle you? And
Ryan
what
Hives.
in God's name is the stash battle?
Exactly. I mean, if you don't know, you can't afford
Are
it.
you in a fight over there?
It's a war. Just know, you come for the Kings, okay? You got to bend the knee.
Who said something?
This is Quaid.
You got to bend the knee. It's an inside job, to be honest.
An inside job.
Inside job by someone who may be sitting in the room next to us.
Okay, well, be careful because they
Yeah.
can just cut the feed
Yeah.
They
in
wouldn't
any
do that.
second.
They-
And then
they
we're just talking to ourselves.
Have you seen these 3 faces? Cut the feed, David.
Golly, dude.
And after that, get off my lawn. Come on,
Well,
now.
with that stash, you got that 70s
This guy
top
looks like
vibe
he
going on, so
owns
it's
he
good
owns
patrolling.
a pawn shop and a used car dealership.
I do.
Like,
They're
right
they're
next
in
to each
one.
other.
It's the same.
Nice.
All right.
On used cars.
The first of 5 big questions. Our boy Julio Jones
getting
has
pawned.
teamed up with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. How much value is he going to add for the Bucs this season, Jay?
I mean, look, Julio, while he's not in his prime anymore, can still be effective, and he's going to be the third option. Now you have Mike Evans, you have Godwin, and Julio, and let's not act like the minute you don't join Tom Brady, you get plus 5 points, like on your overall over Madden. Catching increases, your speed increases, getting in and out of breaks, your agility increases, but it just gives you another guy that in the red zone scares the hell out of you because he can still go get it. And it's another guy that the defense says, okay, well, no, we can't double Godwin because Julio's over there. And obviously Mike Evans is freaking out on the outside at Z right now. So anytime, look, they don't make moves unless Tom Brady says, you know what, let's do this. So I trust Tom Brady. And now you add him with the staff that's over there. And his ability, and Julio Jones is such a great team guy and locker room guy. And the longer he's there, all the young guys that come up, that are still working and try and crack the rotation, it has a good effect on them. It has a good effect on your team. And listen, Tom Brady, he makes moves and he don't miss a lot. Let's just put it that way.
Julio spent more than his fair share of being the number 1 guy getting double covered. So he's probably loving it.
Look, he's
like,
been,
hey, I'd love to come in and, catch some easier touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure. I'm telling you, in the red zone, third down, stuff like that, or when they're trying to bottle up Mike Evans and Godwin's over there painting pretty pictures and Julio can go get it. He can still do it.
Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
You're saying it.
Yeah.
Super
I
Bowl
like that pick.
champion.
Wow, what a way to go out on a limb.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm right.
I know, and I picked Bama to win the
I mean, yeah, like Super Bowl
I
champions. Like, I mean, you got Tom, you got Julio, you got Mike, you got Chris, you got Tom.
Stacked. They look like Gronkowski retires and somehow they got more weapons.
Yeah,
it's
they got Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph. I just
Who's
remember
nice.
Yeah,
Julio
the red-nosed
Jones's-
touchdown catcher.
Remember Julio's last year in Atlanta? It's like he's getting triple coverage, and Calvin Ridley comes in as a rookie and catches like 8 touchdowns.
Always bet on
Julio has
yourself.
like 2 touchdowns.
Always bet on yourself.
Julio's like, man, look, Tom's about to throw me some good ones. Right
Listen,
now.
they're just like, they can just look at each other and know that like they've played so long and their IQ so high, they're like talking telepathically on the field.
Man, it should be fun to watch.
It should.
All right, this 5 big questions is an all NFL edition, by the way.
Listen, you can
Stay
sign me up for that all day and
Let's
twice
move on
Sunday.
to Joe Burrow. Had his appendix removed yesterday. How concerned should Bengals fans be?
He just got a little faster.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you took a little weight out. Joe Burrow made it a little faster. Listen, if anybody doesn't need their appendix, it's Joe Burrow. I mean, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if he took it out even if nothing was wrong with it, just to increase his aerodynamic abilities and ability to run. Maybe that was the reason, his appendix was the reason that horrible play call with that angle route to the backup running back, even though Jamar Chase is over there running wide open to win the Super Bowl. But that's neither here nor there, and I'm not a doctor, but I did play one on TV.
That pass interference call. Go back to that drive before that. When the Rams scored, they called the pass interference on the linebacker who didn't touch him. Let's really talk about that.
Yeah, let's blame the defense again. Let's blame penalties.
Well, you got reviews.
Let's blame penalties on the defense again.
You got reviews.
Because you're right, the defense is really at an advantage.
Under 2 minutes, you can look at it. You looked at it, and still got it wrong. But I guess I can somewhat make up for T. Higgins pulling Jalen Ramsey's face mask on that defense.
Yeah, I remember. You remember when?
Chris Kirkpatrick. But, I mean, it's Joey B. I mean, he's only going to get back better. I mean, the kid's top 5.
Yeah.
The kid's nice.
I mean.
Kid's nice.
Yeah.
He's never done anything wrong.
Kid.
Speaking about another former really good NFL quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger made some comments. Said the game of football has changed. It's turned from a team-first game to a me-type attitude game, and Cam Hayward took some exception to that. Where do you stand on this?
Well, Cam Hayward, I understand Cam Hayward taking exception to it. And I know him and Ben played a long time together, and I think society's getting more like that. So in turn, the NFL is going to get more like that because it's a part of society. But Cam Hayward's point was, you have guys coming in now from way different backgrounds with way different upbringings. Yeah, we've had that for a long time. Like to me, that's not new. Mm-hmm. Like you have people that come from very well-off backgrounds and great places, and people that came up from nothing, from horrible places. Like, Cam, do you think like 3 years ago people just started coming from poverty to play in the NFL? I'm confused at where he was going with that. I think he was just kind of in his feelings about it a little bit and didn't really portray the best reasoning for it. But in my head, I'm trying to figure out, okay, so people just started arriving out of different backgrounds in the NFL? Like, this hasn't happened everywhere in life? I mean, accountants come out of different backgrounds. I mean, the lifeguards come out of different backgrounds.
Well, look, when the NFL is too me first for Ben Roethlisberger,
that's for
something's
sure.
wrong. I mean,
yeah, Ben,
feels like he's
you did a couple me first things too.
Feels like he's about to start telling people to get off his lawn, and I'm here for it.
Look, he might, but it won't be as good as yours, in my opinion.
Love it. Jerry Jones. Let's move on to him. He says the Cowboys need to be viable in the playoffs to have a successful season. I mean, pretty simple. Will Dallas be viable in the playoffs?
Yeah, I want to breathe oxygen when I wake up.
Good point, Jerry.
Jerry, what are we doing?
Will they will they be viable in the playoffs again during his lifetime?
Who's the quarterback?
Dak.
No. But again, what is viable? Does he know what that word means? But why not be like, why not use something like, we need to win the Super Bowl or I'm going to freak out?
No,
I would rather you say that.
That's too specific. You can measure that.
I would say that. Mike McCarthy's like, please don't say that. Please don't say that. But we want to be viable in the playoffs. We'd be like, well, the Cowboys they're in the playoffs, so they're obviously viable. I'm not. Again, why are people saying, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills today. Like Jerry Jones is like, you know what? We need to have a good year for me to say that we have a good year. And you need to look at NFTs.
Someone's in that meeting room like,
oh, they're all.
You're so right, Jerry.
That's exactly right.
So right, Jerry.
Like, they think
so
Jerry's got him convinced more than like Kim Jong-un. They're like, Jerry Jones has just shot 18 hole-in-ones on the golf course. Like, again, it's that type of deal. But why are we coming out saying, like, just things that we know? Like, like ice cream. Like,
so Cowboys fans shouldn't have any hope?
No, I'm not saying don't have hope, but you don't have to come out and say, hey, we should have hope. Like, again, we know this.
Yeah.
We know this.
Hope to win a Super Bowl or hope to be viable in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's what, again, what do you mean viable in the playoffs?
Win a game? Not lose to an more under-talented football team than you, like the 49ers?
Can we get Jerry on the line and ask him?
Yeah, let's just get Jerry. We can ask him. He'll be down to come.
Get him on the line, please.
No, I'm sure he'll love that.
All right, on to the 49ers. 49ers have no doubt that this is Trey Lance's team, and they're looking to move Jimmy Garoppolo ASAP. What are your thoughts on that? Clearly, they're seeing something in the kid.
Well, no, I think you had to do this because you put all the eggs in the basket of Trey Lance. And, like, eventually, the closer you get to the season, I said this a couple months ago, Trey Lance will be looking around like, hey, am I the quarterback or what? Like, is it me or do you guys not believe in me? So Jimmy G's going to get moved. I know they've kept him in bubble wrap, and they're going to ship him out so he doesn't get hurt so you can get the most trade value out of him. Jimmy G's not a great quarterback. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe in Trey Lance like a lot of people do. I've got to see it. Now, I don't think we've seen enough for me to 100% say Trey Lance is going to be a bust. But I don't think Trey Lance is going to be some dude that's going to bring the 49ers back to prominence. I don't think he's that guy.
I'll say it. Trey Lance is going to be a bust.
Go ahead. Look,
he is. I've seen enough. He's not the guy. It's the same thing with Love at the Packers. He's not the guy. Jimmy G is an improvement from Trey Lance. You're not getting better with this. I understand you drafted him, and you got to go with him at some point to make yourself feel better and look better. But I'm telling you, you put your eggs in this basket, it's not going to be a basket you're going to be carrying for a long time, buddy, because this guy's not it.
Yeah, I have my doubts, but I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. And I want to see, once he's the guy, sometimes, it clicks, but, whoo, I mean, you had to do it. Did you
though? See,
you had to do it, David.
That's my question. If he's that bad, then why not keep Jimmy Garoppolo?
Again, because you drafted Trey Lance. I think it's one of those things. It's kind of like, what's the movie where they draft the guy and they realize trouble with the curve? Like all of a sudden, like, hey, this is the number one guy. We got him. And all of a sudden, like, all right, throw him the curveball. And he's like, shing, and doesn't even come close. I think we may have a little. They need to bring Clint Eastwood in there. Let them listen to the sound of people catching balls and throwing balls and stuff like that and maybe figure it out. I mean, I tend to lean toward where Blaine's saying. I just want to give him the benefit of the doubt and watch him, but I'm not super excited about it. I feel a lot better about Matt Corral than I do about Trey Lance.
Wow.
To keep it a country stizzy. But speaking of that, I'm going to make like Blaine's mustache and get on out here and go to the board.
No, his mustache still here.
No, I'm talking about
what do you mean?
It's not going anywhere.
Is there plotting going on?
What?
No.
Is there plotting going on?
I don't have any land.
That mustache has its own Twitter handle now.
Damn right it does.
That's
and does the flaming dragon as well.
I just can't wait to see when you find out who murdered the person on the Orient Express.
It was you.
All right,
Get him, boys.
Yesterday, Philadelphia, I believe that's where the Liberty Bell is. But I wish nothing but bad things upon you after what you did to me yesterday. But the funny part is, I did kind of hedge my emotions, and the Braves took you to town. Braves obviously making their move on the Mets. I wonder who said that. Oh, wait, I did. So here we go. Today, going double nerfy. You want to know why? I'm joining the parade, Blaine. I sat outside, saw the floats, went and got some funnel cake. It's nice. Families going around with balloons. There's
nothing like a solid funnel cake, man.
The cheerleaders from the high school are leading one of the floats. So I'm going to join the parade. So I'm going double nerfy today. Let's go Cardinals, Blue Jays, nerfy at -120. It's two birds, right? Two birds playing each other? Kind of like it. I don't know. Feel good about it. Then, New York, nerfy. Mets and Yanks. Almost put some money on Rizzo and Judge to hit a home run yesterday. But I didn't. You want to know why? Because I'm an idiot.
You know what's worse than that?
What?
Not putting money on Hideki Matsuyama to win the Masters.
Oh, dude, we don't.
Plus 5,000.
We don't need to talk about that anymore. Because again, I didn't do that. I know it happened to you, but it still hurts me.
It's because I was in Tuscaloosa at the time.
Yeah, that's a tough deal. Yeah. So, again, it's got to stay in the green till football season. We all know what time it is. Guys, I do want to say, overall record, we are 38 games over 500.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough, and it's still good, though, but it's not good enough because we hold ourselves to a very high standard, right? Rule 17, no excuses, play like a champion. Speaking of champions, David Cohn, what are you selecting for your betting, gambling decisions today?
Look, Domingo German with the Yankees facing off against Max Scherzer in the Subway Series, but I want to take German under 4.5 Ks. That's going off at -185.
You don't believe in the Germans,
I don't think he gets there, okay?
Okay.
Then Marlins Reds nerfy at -130. And then I'm going to have to take the Rays-Orioles nerfy as well at -120 because Nick Kyrgios decided not to play tennis yesterday. You know what? And that's just that's standard operating procedure.
Wait, he decided not to play?
Look, there's a situation here. When I take this guy,
this is that
right?
one guy.
Despite I left my emotions at the door, right? Took Kyrgios.
Why didn't he play?
Tennis. I don't know, and I don't care. Because he's Nick Kyrgios. That's the reason. Okay, so forget that guy. I don't care. He's out of the Atlanta Open now. Maybe we should jog over there and see, who actually does win it. Maybe we'll get a Dominic Thiem situation going. I don't know. But I'm going to have to take 3 picks today, double nerfy, plus the under in the Ks for the Yankees.
I got a weird feeling you're going 3-0 today.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
I like it. I like the confidence.
All right.
This guy's running away with it over here.
Hamburglar, what are you choosing?
Hamburger.
Cedric Mullins.
I can't escape this guy.
Cedric Mullins. You just had to do it, huh? Had to do it. That's fine. It's fine. Hey, Rockies, White Sox, +110. We'll take that in the bank. Nice. If units moved up in the day. Hey, 1-1 right now can win me the month. So I'll take.
You've already won the month, dude.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
It's like July 26th. There's like 5 more days. You don't have to be a math magician.
I don't know, man. I might go in there and find a plus 10,000 somewhere. Maybe, maybe the Formula One race this weekend.
Do I full send a couple at the end?
See, I feel like you have to cap that.
See, he tried to do it last month, and he did it a little too early, and it hurt his numbers. And then, like, the way that you took off this month, right on the first of the month, it was just a thing of beauty.
It was.
It was beautiful.
I had to.
But I just feel like, there's a Formula One race.
We're not
maybe
capping plus
UFC
odds,
things.
dude. That's ridiculous.
I might have to take a couple plus 10,000s or something. Just
if I lose on a plus 10,000.
Well, sometimes you got to tip your cap.
Plus 10,000.
Sometimes you got to tip your cap. What do you take?
Boise State-ish of you.
Blaine, you're taking
the trick play, Statue of Liberty, hook and ladder.
Hey, that was your boy. Brian Harsin called that play.
Yeah, that was your boy. All right, cool. All right, this is what I'm taking. Hey, apparently we all have the same bet. So, hey, Wainwright's on the mound. Just don't hang a curveball on the first. Please
don't do it.
Don't hang a curveball on the first. Nerfy,
like that.
Reds, Marlins. One of the Marlins' best players are injured. So, give me another Nerfies, boys. I'm gonna stick with it. Why would I go away from it?
Yeah, Baby Coney's gonna take the Mets first 5. That's minus a half. That's a dirty minus 130.
Cat eye.
And then he's going to take Kevin Gausman to somehow get over 5.5 strikeouts. I can't believe that's going off at minus 175.
Also, let's see. He had Janik Sinner. Ooh, and Sinner's down in the first set.
A long way to go, though, Coach.
What was the bet?
Minus 2.5 games, though. So.
Well, again, he's got a little time.
Yeah.
He's a little guy. But he's also 69 and 52 overall. He's 17 games over 500, which you got to feel really special about. And, it's good that he's actually bringing in some money into the household.
Yeah, I know.
I know
I
you're
love
going to
it.
probably be pretty proud of him. So I do want to transition that into announcing our booster bets before we get to the top play. And I would be remiss, guys, I didn't announce. And how fitting is this with this guy's last name? Michael Wynn is 10-0.
Yes.
Like I said yesterday, it's been a lot of great moments in history, or a lot of influential moments in history. This is probably the top one ever. 10-0 yesterday, hit the Nerfy. I think he had the Astros A's, maybe that's what it was. Michael, congratulations. Since you hit 10-0, make sure you DM me your address. We're going to send you some swag. If you hit 10-0, listen, getting your name written down, that's cool, okay? But 10-0, you got to get a reward. You got to get a reward. So we'll send you a signed shirt or something. Yeah. Send us your address, but keep going. Again, we're going to see who can go the longest. So Michael Wynn is 10-0, and he's going to take the Twins Brewers Nerfy. He's staying on the Nerfy train. Cobras, you got to believe. BJPS 09XU13 is 3-0. God, I blew it. It's first for him. He wants the Brewers Twins. He wants the Twins minus 1.5 going at plus 105. Sammy V's 2-0. Braves, he wants the Phillies over 2.5 runs in the first 5 innings. Zachary W. Jerome's 2-0. He wants the Dodgers minus half on the run line, minus 142. Midnight Crane to Georgia's 1-0. He wants the Dodgers, Nats, Nerfy. And then the Livest Son is 1-0. He wants Andrew Haney over 4.5 strikeouts. Then Ram Drew 87's 1-0. He wants the Rays money line, minus 165. Dragon B. Flamin' is 1-0. He wants the Diamondbacks, Giants, Nerfy at minus 130. And somebody hit the Hall of Fame earlier that we're going to give a shout out to tomorrow. Don't let me forget that. At No Pain, No Crane. Love that name. It's pretty cool. 0-1. That's all right. We want the Padres and Tigers, Nerfy at minus 145. Best of luck to you, my friend. And Tall Riot, 0-3. He wants Aaron Judge to hit a home run tonight at a steady plus 160.
Probably will.
He probably will.
Probably will. We have a top play as
Let's get to the top play. Last night,
play.
Mariners, Rangers, Cal Raleigh. Let's run the footage. 9th inning, runner on first, no outs. I'm going right center, and I'm going to dive in head first. It's a race to the plate, Cone. All right, the outfielder's going to pick it up. He's going to turn around. He's going to try and launch
off
it
too.
from Cape Canaveral.
Safe.
We got a nice little relay at home, and you're safe, and we're tied. And guess what? Let me tell you a story about the time that we were tied. You remember when Bobby Boucher showed up halftime of the Bourbon Bowl, and the Mud Dogs ended up winning?
I
do. But he wasn't there tonight. Carlos Santana, sack fly.
Sack fly. Mariners are hot, man.
Dude, they are hot. They're scary. Seattle can get super
Save
hot.
them all.
All right, God, that looked like Jay Buhner running from third to
Good ball.
third. You're a real baseball fan. You know who I'm talking about. But good for the Mariners. That's our top play from last night. Going to have another one going into tomorrow.
Oh, also,
Go ahead.
they laid down a bunt in between that, too. So they had the double off the wall, laid down a bunt, and then the sack fly. Beautiful baseball.
That is, get them on, get them over, get them in. Booster Club.
Done this.
All right, first poll. Will Jimbo Fisher win a national championship at Texas A&M?
That's a good one.
Thank you.
That is a good one.
Yes.
53%.
I think he will, but I think they said no. So I'll just say no.
Yes. 52%.
See, you accuse me of looking at the poll all the time. I'm telling you right now, there's the Spidey senses are real, okay? They're real. I woke up this morning, I was halfway up my wall.
Well done.
That had to be scary, right?
You're halfway up
Woke
the wall.
and
Did
you're
you go
halfway up the wall?
This is Adam's favorite thing.
Are you
by the way,
okay?
now.
I wasn't going to say that out loud.
Adam has a Spider-Man shirt and then just like, pew, pew. He's like loving it. Yeah.
It's like me in college going to the bar. Pew, 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 pew. Shooting out spider webs. See what you can catch. Blaine, Booster Club.
Yes, it's me. Travis Elrod says, great way to make funnel cakes is heat the oil and put butter into any emptied salad dressing bottle, squeeze the batter into the hot oil, and it fries quickly.
I love
So
that.
much
I want to
going
say
on in
that.
there. I love
wanted
it.
to say that. I want to go ahead and get that out.
I
think
funnel
people
cake.
need
that
to
sounds
know.
fantastic.
And
Travis, thank you for that.
you know what I was thinking about today?
I'm worried where this is
Now-
going already.
You know
Now
how
I'm
like
worried.
you know how snails are so slow, but you never see them coming. You never see them coming. They're so slow, but you never. Have you ever really seen a snail coming? You just saw it, and it's right next to you, and it's on. It's like right on you or right next to you.
Did you think?
But do you think that's maybe because you're moving and the snail?
Maybe.
They're small too, so it's like.
But I literally have not. I mean, I've seen caterpillars coming at me. I mean, I've seen.
No
deer
one's
coming
walked
at
up
me.
like-
I've never seen a snail.
Yeah, no one's
coming
walked
at
up and be like, oh, there's a snail. So as you sit down, you're like, ugh! It's a snail. It sneak up on you. I swear.
It's funny because it's true.
I swear.
So that's what you think about during the
man.
day. That's horrifying. All right, one more of the Booster Club.
Okay, let me get in
I'm
here.
gonna make him sweat
Christopher
this
Mowry
morning,
says, what are our thoughts on the new Notre Dame uniform video?
I thought it was a little long.
did
I
way
see
too
what you were
much.
trying to do. I
You
feel like
did
y'all did way too much. I like the uniforms though, the icy whites. I like speaking of A&M, I like the A&M's icy whites when they did it. I like the white uniforms. That's why I like the Stormtroopers in Star Wars. Love that get up. Again, I just love the all whites of Braves. You know, it's just I don't know. I think it's a good looking uniform.
Play Michigan. You're robbing us of one of the greatest
This always
rivalries
just
in
comes
college
back to
football.
this. You
Okay,
just-
I have nothing to say on the uniforms till you play Michigan.
Okay, one more for the Booster Club.
Okay, let me get in. Christopher Mowry.
Again,
Yeah, we can go with him again. I don't know. He's kind of been on edge today.
Chris, you
Is
need
it
to
edgy
calm
in there?
down.
It's
Is
been
it edgy enough to give Reggie Bush a wedgie?
Someone said Blaine's a Lakers fan, a Yankees fan. likes
He
Tom Brady.
is!
Not true.
He is
Not true.
He's a front runner.
It's not
Front
true.
running,
First of all,
Frankie.
everyone here likes Tom Brady. I'm not a Bucs fan.
Are you?
No.
You're
Who are you
not.
a fan of?
Tennessee Titans.
You do look like a
Oh.
Frankie with the mustache.
Tennessee
though.
Titans. Been a Yankees fan my whole life. I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm just. I think LeBron James is.
Who does LeBron? You're a LeBron fan, right?
Yeah.
Who does LeBron play for?
The Lakers? I don't make me a Lakers fan.
So
LeBron fan.
again,
You
I'm
said it
not
the first
big
time.
on using the transitive property, but it does kind of.
And I also go for the worst hockey team that there is.
Who's that? The Flyers.
Yep.
You're a Flyers fan.
Big Flyers guy.
officially.
Not
Wow.
the Kraken.
No.
Not the Kraken. You don't want to release them.
It's in the ocean.
Yeah.
The day you.
Where's King Squid? King Squid. I always wanted King Squid to take the Kraken.
King Squid versus the Kraken.
Yeah.
I don't.
What is King Squid?
What?
King Squid.
You don't
What
know
is
what
King-
Pokemon is, but or Harry Potter.
No, King Squid.
But
used
you're
to
gonna
put
come
bets
out
in
here
the-
and talk
I haven't
about
heard King
King
Squid.
Squid.
Oh,
put
is that a
bets in.
name that somebody used to do bet?
Yeah. Remember?
Okay, I've never heard
during
that.
hockey.
Oh,
season.
I thought you were talking about it was like the Kraken's enemy.
No, but that could be cool.
Yeah, that was
That's what
that's what that was Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's Amber Heard's enemy. But anyways, we appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you're following us on all platforms. Got a great show tomorrow as well. Some big time guests. We got Takeo Spikes into this week. Chris Doring. A lot of good stuff that's happening. So make sure you're following us. And like the chances of Trey Lance ever winning a Super Bowl are me dunking in the NBA. We're going, gone.